Hello, everybody, and welcome to the brand new podcast, Real Talk. This is episode 1, and yes, we're here to talk about everything motorsport and everything sim racing, and it's going to be a bunch of fun. We've been on about doing something like this for the longest of times, and yes, we're finally here to do it. And joining me today for this first episode is James Smith. Hello, James. Welcome to the broadcast. And yes, we're here.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, this has been on for quite a while. It's been a thought, and we've always been thinking.
I can't hear James through my
Brilliant.
through my thing here. That's completely my bad. I apologise. Something's gone wrong with my audio here. Typical. Right, here we go. Let me just sort this out. new podcast, new things. So you love to see it. Right. Well, let me do this and go back. Hello, James. Can you hear me?
I hear you perfectly fine. Yes.
Right. Do that again. Wow. Wow. Anyway, we've got 5 minutes on the schedule to sort this out for the intro. And I can hear him now. Hello, James.
Yes, hello.
Hello. Right, I apologise. I figured out what the problem was. That was an Audacity thing. It decided to turn down my entire desktop because I was turning and fading out the intro. Anyway, welcome to the to the podcast. We're going to be talking everything about motorsport today, starting with if I get up our schedule here, we are starting with R-Factor 2 being taken over. But before that, how are you?
Well, I've just been to the neurologist and been in a waiting room for 2 hours and stuff like that, so I could be better. I've also got a raging headache, but yeah, looking forward to doing this podcast because it's been in the works for quite a while, and we see fit the time to do it now. So here we are.
Well, I think the idea for this podcast came actually in 2020, the very start of it, when I was doing TFM, which was our kind of like, it was designed to be the Sky Sports of sim racing, a bit of an out there goal, but it was going well in the R-Factor scene. And I've noticed, James, since TFM happened, there seems to be other websites that basically do the exact same thing as TFM, but a lot more successfully. But yes, we were talking about doing a podcast there to follow the kind of R-Factor 1 scene, and never kind of came to fruition. But since SRL died, we decided we'd do it now. So it's all a bunch of fun, I guess.
Yeah, and with SRL dying, went my team's RF2 aspirations down the toilet, for now at least.
You guys are doing ESRS, aren't you?
Yes, we are, and I'm very happy with my lineup. Shout out Pavel and Josh. I know they're going to do great.
Hello, Jake. Welcome to the stream. You can see you're on the chat as well. Again, this is a very ghetto...
It's a technological marvel, Tom.
It is a technological marvel. A completely ghetto setup here. I actually created this lovely OBS window about an hour before the stream. I had some troubleshoot artifacts on the overlay and everything, so it'll be all sorted for next week, I hope, when I have a bit more time to set up. Welcome as well, Contemplate Studios. Of course, if you are watching or listening to this, I need to get used to saying listening, on the SoundCloud, which will be out in the week, then of course you will not know what we're talking about with the chats, but this is live on YouTube on Thursdays at 7 PM. And anyway, I think it's about time we get into it. Intro
yes,
done.
Let's get the
Motorsport
intro.
Games acquired Studio 397 earlier this month, but obviously we weren't here to talk about it. But it's quite interesting news, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I was quite late to the party. Of course, I don't actually have the ability to run R-Factor 2, and no, I don't race on it, but yeah, I've been in the community for a while. Of course, it's the biggest, I'm pretty certain it's the biggest sim community out there, or at least the one, if you were to pick a sim, like, okay, yes, I would want to race on that one, you'd pick R-Factor 2, for sure.
I think
So yeah, it's pretty big because this has got huge implications on the entirety of sim racing. I think, at least.
I think the biggest community is iRacing purely because of the American market. They do a lot of the NASCAR stuff and things like that. And I mean, I was watching the eNASCAR and it gets hundreds and hundreds of views. Their esports, and but I think in terms of the kind of more niche game has always been rFactor 2, but it's also been the kind of more hardcore sim. And I think motorsport games, I mean, we're looking at it, they've got the WEC license, which is very interesting. They've got the NASCAR license as well.
Yeah.
Potentially stealing iRacing's thunder a little bit there.
iRacing still has IndyCar though, so I think it's okay. But yeah, clearly, Motorsport Games is taking this seriously, trying to acquire lots of different internationally recognized series that are obviously huge. You say WC or NASCAR, I mean, okay, everyone knows them.
And I think the biggest thing here is, I think my concern really with the entire thing is that it's going to go one of two ways in terms of how they approach the acquisition. Either because I know they've expressed interest in using the Unreal Engine, which is what Assetto Corsa competitor Xeon uses, which is apparently one of the biggest sims. I'm not a massive fan myself, but it's one of the most impressive sims. Apparently, you've got the SRO actually using it as their. And here we go. I've got the official article up, but yes, the SRO using it as their championship as part of a actual real life championship. So I think they could see a lot of potential at the Unreal Engine there. And I think the idea is that they're going to be implementing the G-Motor 2, are we on now? The G-Motor.
I think so, yeah.
The G-Motor physics into that, and that would include the tyre model that rFactor 2 is so well known for.
But yeah, I mean, it's quite unknown to some. Motorsport Games and Studio 397 have been working together for a long time. They worked together for the 24-hour race that we did virtually, and that was, I mean, holding a 24-hour race on a sim is extremely difficult because servers don't like to be up for so long, drivers don't like to be up for so long, but they pulled it off. So yeah, I think this has been quite a while in the making. It was still a surprise, don't get me wrong, but it's not. Yeah, if there was one person, company, anything to take over Studio 397, it would be the Motorsport Games. I do trust them. Now, this is very debatable. I do trust them. I think they can bring rFactor 2 forward, improve the community, but that's very, very debatable.
Now, my concern is that they won't be using it to develop rFactor 2, but instead kind of using the rFactor 2 base to kind of shell out all these generic licensed, kind of F1 2020 style yearly released games. In the official press article from Studio 397, after the stream, we will, if you bear with me.
Oh, okay.
Apologies for that. So if you actually look at the stuff that they're talking about, they said our other projects are going to be using the rFactor 2 engine, and the article says definitely core parts of our engine are integrated into the platform we're building for the new NASCAR game, as well as future games on console and PC. Motorsport Games already announced future products based on the Le Mans and BTCC licenses, so we're looking forward to creating a solid foundation there. Now that sounds to me like they're going to go for the the generic kind of licensed yearly released games, and and that's quite concerning to me, because one of rFactor 2's brilliant things is that I can kind of jump in and just jump in and drive whatever I want when I want. And I can be doing NASCAR 1 minute at Talladega, and then the next minute I'm doing LMP2 at Le Mans. I think that's one of the really great things about the game. And I'm concerned that if they move to this, I'm going to have to buy all these different games rather than just the different DLC. And I don't want it to come off as, oh, I don't want to spend money. But I think it really, you're kind of removing a lot from the game itself. I mean, it is the open racing simulation.
Trust me, I'm a budget person as well. If I see a bunch of cookies for the same quantity but a lower price, man, I don't care about the quality. I'm buying low price. But yeah, we have to think, what defines a sim? What sets a sim in a game apart? Because a sim is more expensive. It's more for the passionate people. So a lot of people it's really for the hardcore people.
And I think a lot of these The thing about the Sims as well is, and I think it's definitely what they're going to implement. I mean, you can't really have the R Factor 2 engine and not have it as a sim. But I'm concerned that we're going to end up with the kind of... you apologise, James, you cut out there.
I still trust motorsport games, but they will probably expand how much more you have to pay, and the DLCs, they're probably going to expand it further. Like, when they release something new, they won't release like a... Okay, there's 3 or 4 DLCs and we'll release one free one. No, it's all going to be DLC and stuff like that.
And this is the thing that concerns me. If it's DLC, it's fine. Say, for instance, it's like, £20 for a full NASCAR licensed content DLC for R Factor 2. That's brilliant. But if it's its entire new game, at like £45 or whatever the F1 games are priced at now, I think that's really a concerning precedent for sim racing as a whole, because that's not what it's about, really. That's like, that's game territory there, really, in terms of the marketing strategy.
Oh yeah, you could bang on for hours about because it's been a few weeks. I mean, they haven't had time to. They've set out their plans and everything, and all the news is coming, but they haven't really done anything actually towards the game or the sim, whatever you want to call it. I'd call it a sim. I don't think R Factor 2 is a game. I don't even think R Factor 1's a game.
I mean, of course, that they've expressed interest in continuing R Factor 2 being developed. Will R Factor 2 continue to be developed is the question from the official announcement post, and the firm answer to that question is yes. We collaborated closely with Motorsport Games last year on various esports events, such as the highly successful 24 Hours of Le Mans Virtual, as well as the Formula E Race at Home Challenge. Both leveraged the R Factor 2 platform, and we were discussing with Motorsport Games how to evolve the title so it can become the company's go-to esports platform on PC. These talks not only are starting to take shape here at Studio 397, but rest assured we're looking forward to share many of our plans with the community in the weeks and the months ahead. So that sounds to me like they aren't ditching R Factor 2, but they certainly aren't.
Oh, certainly not. No, definitely not. But yeah, I don't know. Is an R Factor 3 coming? Is a whole new sim coming? How long does R Factor 2 have left? I mean, R Factor 1, it was released in, I think, 2006, 2007. There is
2005, I believe.
2005 even, yeah. So 16 odd years ago.
It's older than me.
However dead it is and however bad the graphics and the physics are, there are still people who do R Factor 1. I mean, there's a 4-hour Le Mans race in 2 days, which I'm taking part in.
I was doing last week. As being from the Midlands, it's kind of in our blood to go and do stock car racing, and I joined a stock car league because I've never been to it. We've had stock car tracks quite local, and I've never been to it. I've never got into it, but I joined one of the stock car leagues to see what it's all about because I had a friend who has done some in real life. I was like, oh, I'll go and check it out, and they had like 30 people turning up to this race. It was insane.
Yeah,
and that's driving in a 400-meter circle.
Yeah, it's quite. You have to go quite deep and do your research, not research, but you can't stop at like, okay, R Factor 1. There's like only 100 server list. Okay, it's dead. It's proving it's like the human race. It's very easy to, because there's so many of us. It's very easy to kill everyone off. But imagine COVID with 100 asymptomatic people spread around the globe, hundreds and hundreds of miles away from each other. How are you going to spread it? You're not going to.
That is very odd analogy.
Yeah, no, but it's extremely difficult to fully kill things off. Like, the term die gets thrown around a lot. And okay, I'd agree. R Factor 1 has been dead for quite a while, but it's not finished yet. It's not going to be mainstream ever again. It's not going to be taken as seriously as any other sim out there, like Assetto Corsa, AMS even AMS 1 still has much more credibility around it than R Factor 1, but there will always be people on it, and that's the thing. If this R Factor 2 stuff, if Motorsport Games really messes up, R Factor 2 will still exist. Not in its prominence, but it will still exist. There will always be people on it.
For sure, and I think as an endurance platform, R Factor 2 is one of the best. I mean, the entire premise of the R Factor franchise, I mean, you look at the original game, the whole slogan was it Create, Control, Connect, or something along those lines?
I don't know. You're asking the wrong person to me. Maybe ask the chat. I don't know. Some chat knows.
It was something along those. It was something along those lines. And basically, it's all about this. It's your sim, and my concern is that we're going to be closing up, kind of the sim and more going to more DLC centric simulator with less mods and things. And I mean, it's a bit of banter in the chat there between Alex Maggio and Jake Dennehan. You'd love to see it. But yeah, will R-Factor 2 continue to develop it? And I mean, it's clear they want to develop it, and I don't think they even have the rights to an R-Factor 3. ISI
What
still...
does that mean?
So, obviously, Studio 397 don't own the R-Factor name. They just allowed to develop R-Factor 2.
Yes.
ISI still own R-Factor, the brand.
I'm sure Motorsport Games can...
Yes.
I'm sure that they have the resources to turn up and be like, look at all the money we have. Let us make R-Factor 3 if we want to.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Of course, it's not going to be easy, and as a result of that, because it's going to be difficult, we should get, if R-Factor 3 ever comes out, it should be a decent sim. Because R-Factor 2 does have its problems, a lot of problems. Even recently, this new UI update, oh my, is there a single person who likes it?
I like the style of the new UI, I just don't like the UI.
Yeah, well, yeah, like the implementation and actually living with it.
When I first loaded up the UI, I was like, wow, this is cool, it looks like an actual game now. As in, it looks like a finished package, not like a kind of sim bundled together and, you know, given a UI slapped on the last minute. You know, it looks like a finished product. And then I use the UI, and I go to setup, and I'm like, where's all these options? It's like, what is this? Jake says, RF3, please, no. Well, I mean, I think the problem with R-Factor 3 is, and the idea of it...
First of all, it doesn't exist. That's the main problem.
Well, yes. But I think the problem with the idea of it is that they've brought out content for R-Factor 2 way too recently, that R-Factor 3 would have to be really, really impressive for anyone to migrate over. And I'd go as far to say, and this is going to be my I don't want to spend money self coming out, but I'd go as far to say, you know, maybe having R-Factor 3 at discount for people who've bought R-Factor 2, because Jake makes a very good point. I spent so much money on R-Factor 2, I can't afford another R-Factor game. I mean, this is true. Most people, to get into R-Factor 2, have to spend upwards of £100 just to buy the game, and that is...
€113.
That's for the entire game, but I think for the whole... Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I've lived in Europe for almost... hang on. Yeah, this is my third year, so I'm sorry. Pounds, mythical, mate.
Yes, but the whole R-Factor 2... I've just realised my moderation things are coming up on the screen. So even if someone sends some horrendous stuff to the chat, it'll come up on the chat screen. We'll get OBS sorted for next week. Anyway, where was I?
Should we move on to the next topic, because it's staying in R-Factor 2, kind of.
Oh, we shouldn't yet. Actually, we've got a couple minutes to give closing thoughts on the thing. I think the main thing about this whole thing is it's very exciting, and we could see R-Factor 3, and it could come out, and it could be some of the best game you've ever seen. And I think as long as it stays...
It will change sim racing. Good or bad, depends how they make it. But R-Factor 3 will be extremely defining, because now we've had this pandemic and everything. Sim racing is bigger than it's ever been.
And I think this is a perfect opportunity to... you know, I mean, sim racing is bigger than it's ever been. I mean, I was quite lucky. I jumped on the sim racing bandwagon about a year before, you know, current events happened. So I've been able to see somewhat of both sides, and just to see how much the entire scene has changed in the last year or so. It's been insane. I mean, I think I got into sim racing December 2018, and just to see the boom and how much it's changed. I mean, you look at broadcasts from 2018, they look completely different to how they do now. It's just the quick, and I think R-Factor 3 could be impressive, but obviously it's all speculation, and I think they would want to stick with R-Factor 2 for now and stick to the you know, bringing out a BTCC thing. And Jeff says, is this an endless loop of your Daytona
Yeah, he's
lap?
clocked it. He has clocked it.
Yes, Jeff, I had no B-roll on my hard drive. I was going to do a Le Mans stint or something and have that as the B-roll, but I had no B-roll, so it is just a Daytona thing. As I said, it's
the first one. I think it's okay. It's not ideal, but it's okay.
And it's a podcast, so the main focus was on the audio and getting that set up.
Yes.
And I think we've got the levels sorted. I think I'm slightly louder than James, but nothing that can't be fixed with a bit of tweaking.
Yeah, that's fine. I can even just move my mic a bit closer if you want.
Anyway, it is time that we do move on. We've given our closing thoughts, and staying in the R Factor 2 sphere, we are looking at Formula E Accelerate.
Now, this is something I am more familiar with.
This is something that I am very interested in. Now, Formula E has been, and I apologise for the typing here, I'm trying to get a news article up to try and see if there are any official statements we could refer to. So, season finale in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And it's been probably one of the most impressively presented esports series I've seen, watching round 1 and a couple of the other rounds. The only thing I will say is it still does not touch the iRacing eNASCAR Championship.
Oh, not at all. No.
The iRacing eNASCAR Championship is so well put together that it would take no fancy studio could physically.
No. It takes. I don't think it will be so difficult to make a virtual championship anywhere near the level of that one.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
As we talk, Jake, am I going mad?
Are you going mad?
It's live now. They're currently live. We've timed this perfectly.
Perfect, yeah.
Anyway.
Big up eNASCAR, I guess.
No,
yeah.
Formula E, they're live now for Accelerate.
Oh, Formula E, right, okay.
I thought it was
big
tomorrow.
up both of them.
Oh, wow.
Formula E, okay. The thing about Formula E, and this is for real life as well, I just struggle to take it seriously as Formula 1's successor. I mean, you saw the last race in Diriyah. Alex Lynn went flying. The cameras didn't even pick it up.
I mean, they had a missile strike above the track for crying out loud.
They had a missile strike. What kind of international championship that wants to is selling itself as the best of its kind? This is the future. We're going to replace it. I have never seen. We've seen fireworks and stuff, but a missile strike.
I know.
That is biblical.
Now,
a missile strike. It's outrageous. Formula E is just, sometimes I'm watching these races, and remember in Rome when there was 3/4 of the grid was caught in one pilot?
Yes.
And I just thought to myself, is this what we want to watch? Just chaos? But some races are good, don't get me wrong, but some of them are just, I can't watch this and think, this is serious. You say I'm a Formula E driver. Okay. Does anyone even remember who the season 1 Does anyone even remember who the season 1 Formula E champion was? I mean, I know who it is, but I'd be interested to see how many people who actually watched season 1 remember who won the whole thing.
Anyway, if you don't mind, just if I quickly interject, I believe it would probably be worthwhile if we gave you updates on the Formula E Accelerate.
You can do that, yeah, sporadically.
So currently it's Freddie Rasmussen on pole position after qualifying 1 has taken place. They're just doing qualifying 2 right now. I think Jarno Opmeer is off. Now, Jarno Opmeer, I think, hasn't actually impressed as much as I'd expect him to.
Well, relative to Virtual Grand Prix, no. Sorry, esports.
Yes, now, Jarno is clearly a talented driver. I'm going to say this from a real-life perspective because he did real life, and people seem to conveniently forget this. I see a lot of people from F1 2020 saying, not bad for an arcade driver, when he is actually a real-life racing driver too. It's not like he's never driven a car before. But I think he has really shown how different F1 2020 is as a sim to R Factor 2. Well, not
F1
even sim.
2020, it's not a sim, exactly. The handling model on the F1 games since like 2017-18 has just been woeful, in my opinion. You can't race on a pad anymore.
But anyway, as for this Formula E Accelerate, I think one of my biggest problems with the entire brand, and this goes for Accelerate especially, actually, it's how they present themselves. Like, I'm watching the stream on mute in the background, and it's just... It's the way they go to the studio, and rather than having actual commentators, actual presenters, they go for these nobodies that are supposed to be down with the kids, pretty much.
We should apply then.
Well, I mean, we are. I'm probably the most out of touch person of my age in the world.
Oh, yes.
I regularly have to get things explained to me.
On the internet, it's okay.
Words means.
It's okay. There'll always be someone who can explain something.
Are they using the test track It doesn't even have attack mode. I'm pretty sure.
For,
Did they add that?
Formula E's been doing like they had remember the E Village, and like every race weekend they'd have a few guys from the public and a few drivers jump on the sim in the same building and go racing. And then Formula One, of course, when lockdown started, it was actually Veloce who did it. They did the not Grand Prix, and F1 kind of went, okay, virtual Grand Prix. And I have to say, with the virtual GPs, the fact that there was no damage and stuff like that, it just threw me off because I couldn't. It wasn't really proper sim racing. It was just, okay, let's invite a bunch of F1 drivers and celebrities on, and let's make them go around a track on a sim, and the winner gets nothing.
Yeah, this is the thing that I like about the Formula E Accelerate. They're trying, and they're making it as sim racing as possible, and I like that. It's, it's a... On R-Factor 2, probably, but in my opinion, the greatest sim in the world. However, I have to find, with real-life Formula E as well, the gimmicks and the general presentation of the broadcasts pretty, pretty poor. You've got, now we're looking at it, the general presentation of the studio, it just screams, it's a kitchen. It's literally a kitchen, looking at the thing, and they've got these people who aren't actually into the sport, clearly. I think on round one they had this woman who didn't really sound like she knew what she was talking about, if I'm being diplomatic.
I mean, to be honest, the Formula E commentary team in real life is one of my favourites. Jack Nicholls, Dario Franchitti, and hopefully when he gets better, Bob Varsha. Those three, that's a great trio in my opinion. Very passionate, very knowledgeable in Dario. They're great. Listen, the grid guys not as much as you were saying, but the actual commentators, I think, I'm not the only person saying that I like them. A lot of people say Jack Nicholls should be doing Formula One because he's fantastic.
Now you look at this. They're laughing and they're talking about how they're reading comments from social media, and there seems to be this focus on Formula E rather than the actual racing and the sport of it, because that's what we watch it for. It's a sport, and they treat it like a reality TV show, and you have these drivers sitting there, acting as if they are the greatest drivers in the world, when, with all due respect to Formula E drivers, they aren't, otherwise they wouldn't be in Formula E.
Yeah, they have done well on the sim, to be fair, though. They've got Rasmussen, is Opmeer. These are huge names in the sim racing world. They're probably the biggest names in the sim racing world.
I mean, they've also got Kelvin van der Linde, who, if I dare say, is probably GT racing, or quickly going to GT racing royalty, at least this year. He came second at the Dubai 24 Hours earlier this year. And,
yeah, I mean, sim racers, like, remember Chembol Abbasi? He was a sim racer, and he's now a professional racing car driver. Most sim racers who get to that level could easily drive real life cars. Not maybe in the same level. They wouldn't get to F1, but they could do well. Look, Bollock Bassey's doing pretty well for himself. As you said, Opmeer was a real life driver.
Van der Linde and Opmeer was Van der Linde, obviously a current real life driver. He's it was their main thing, and then they moved down to the sim racing thing. Obviously, Van der Linde still is doing DTM and things. So, Van der Linde isn't your, sim racer turned real racer. He's your real racer turned sim racer.
Yes, all the way around.
If I'm correct, I haven't done much research into the guy's career, but he seems pretty class from the Dubai 24 Hours. He was very impressive there. They managed to get second after technical issues, which was pretty impressive. Jack Nicholls is also an OP sim. Of course, Jack Nicholls got his start in Formula Sim Racing. He did commentary there.
Oh, yes, yeah. If you go onto the Formula Sim Racing channel and you look at the highlights videos from 2010 to 2012, especially in 2010, he is the guy voicing over them, which I think is extremely cool. Now,
I don't personally like Jack Nicholls' commentary. I think there's better commentators out there. No, I had to say it. I apologise. Now, I've nothing against Jack Nicholls. He's clearly a very passionate commentator, and I can see the appeal. But for me, I don't know. There's something about the Formula E commentary team I don't really enjoy. But the same with David Croft. I can't really enjoy David Croft's commentary.
Oh, I could write a book about the problems I have with that guy. Jake will tell you.
I think the gold standard of sports commentary has got to be in the form of the cricket guys at 5 Live. I mean, they are the gold standard. It's true. They if you listen to the cricket on 5 Live, that is how you do just broadcasting.
Oh, I don't know.
I
think Peter Drury's probably up there as well for the football. Some of those guys' lines are shivers. I mean, for a long time.
The thing that annoys me about this Formula E Accelerate, and Formula E as a whole, it's not formal enough. It's and I appreciate we have to move on in a minute.
It's fine, you can go on.
It's not formal enough. They're all sitting there in their shorts and t-shirt and their kind of casual, formal-ish wear, and they're standing up. Whereas for me, if I'm watching a broadcast, I want to see people sat around a table. I want to see them in suited up and just talking about the sport. Not any of the social media stuff or the fancy flashing lights. I just want to see, people sat around a table talking about the sport.
Yeah, I guess, but in the end, what happens on track is what matters, and it's exactly the same story on track. I think Formula E has to stop calling their seasons, and that sounds extremely weird. What I mean is, this upcoming season is called Season 7 instead of being called 2021 season.
I think the problem is the second Formula 1 switches to electric, they will buy out Formula E. It won't be the successor. Formula E will die with a whimper. Because...
Yeah, Formula E just doesn't have the driver... Okay, the cars, I think, get too much flack. I think the cars are... They're nice looking, they're nice driving, and they are fast. 184 miles an hour in a straight line.
Well,
That's, I think, 280 kilometers an hour. That's fast.
They are slower than Formula 3 cars. There's something about Formula E cars, and you look at them around Monaco, they look visibly slow.
They need to stop racing only on street circuits.
For sure.
They test at Ricardo Tormo. Why not race there?
They do race there this year.
Oh, they are racing this year? Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
I will say, credit where it's due to Formula E. The Diriyah E-Prix, the first round, I didn't catch the second round because I was on Viz commentary, but the first round of the Formula E, the actual real-life Formula E this year was absolutely brilliant. It was great.
Yeah, there were some Formula E produces very good races. Some tracks
Dragon Penske car,
very good, some not so much. There was I think it was the first season with the Gen 2 car. I think it was like the first 8 races were all extremely, extremely good, and then the last few were duds.
Yes, and I have to give Formula E credit where it's due again, because it got me into racing, actually. It was through Formula E that I found all these other forms of racing.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was probably not... Once you realised what else was out there, you're probably like, yeah, this probably isn't... Formula E is probably not the benchmark.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I was watching Formula E and I was enjoying it, but I was also frustrated at all the gimmicks and the facts that they're like watch-along series with the YouTubers instead of... and I was like, there's got to be something better out here. That's when I'd watched Formula 1 anyway. My dad's a huge Formula 1 fan, so, I'd catch bits on the telly. I was never properly into it until I found Formula E and then, got into Formula 1, and that's kind of where it skyrocketed from there.
Yeah, but anyway, we have spent a bit too much time talking about Formula E. You could talk about Formula E for a very long time.
We are exactly on schedule, actually.
We are on schedule, okay.
We were supposed to do 15 minutes of Formula E, and we've done 14, so I think this is time to introduce our question of the day. Now, this isn't an official segment in the show. This is just a...
Thank God.
This is just a...
Tom's idea.
A thing that will come back to the end. We're continuing with the sim racing thing, and I wanted to talk about the concept of classic cars in sim racing, using classic cars in league racing, and I was inspired. Oh, there was someone flipping right there. That was interesting. One of the Audis. Anyway, VISC, the Virtual IMSA Sports Car Championship, an RF 2 league run by Alex Skinner, probably one of my favourite RF 2 leagues actually, doing a lot of the commentary for them. They were running a 12 hours of Sebring in classic Group C and GTO cars. Now, I wanted to know from the chat, feel free to write in your, it was Van der Linde actually who had the flip. Feel free to write in your answers to this. What do you think of classic cars in league racing? Do you think they're good or do you think they're bad? And anyway,
you've just insinuated paragraphs and paragraphs and essays.
Well, feel free. Send in your GCSE English literature essay if you really need to. If they will let you. Anyway, time to talk some proper racing now. Going to the best series.
Yes, we are getting faster.
On the best racing discipline in the world, WEC. So
I disagree. I'd say Formula One because I'm cringy and I am not very thoughtful.
Well, I am a sports car fanboy, so.
Yes, I am aware.
Anyway, Alpine have released their LMP1 contender to step up to WEC's top class. This is a headline from motorsport.com, and when I saw this car, and now I'm going to ask you, James, do you think I can get away with putting this copyrighted image on the screen for a few seconds for reference to the viewers?
I think you can.
I think we will.
Yes.
I think we will.
Yes, go ahead.
And if
I'm going to be completely honest. When the renders for this car were shown, I thought it was fake.
Yes, same.
I didn't think. Okay, Alpine was Renault. Renault were never ever going to WEC. They lost. Renault lost nearly $10 billion last year, mostly from its F1 program. So why would you go to WEC? And suddenly, okay, they've rebranded to Alpine. They've changed colours, and they brought back Alonso into F1, and we thought that's everything. And suddenly there's these renders going around of they're in the WEC in the Le Mans hyperclass, hypercar class, which is of course the highest class, and it's new. It's a perfect time to join, but exactly. I thought it was fake. I couldn't believe it.
Now, here is on the screen, I apologise to all the licence holders here, but this is purely for educational purposes. We'll get away with that one. Here is a picture from Alpine, from motorsport.com. We'll credit them and put them in the description. Here is their hypercar. And when I first saw this, I thought, that is an LMP2. And I read about it, and it's not. It's an LMP1, which is an LMP2 in itself. There's odd stories in this car. But I'm going to answer what James said first. Now, I think with Alpine, they've obviously always been in WEC, if I am correct. They've done Le Mans many times in LMP2. And I believe they've done a lot of ELMS. They are a big trademark, big kind of, point of sports car racing over the last 10 years. They're a big, big team. Alpine sports cars, that's how it is. And I apologise for saying Alpine. But anyway, Alpine sports cars, when they came to Formula, I was like, oh, that's cool. The WEC team's coming in. I don't think they did last year. I'm not too sure, despite being a massive fan of WEC. I don't actually have the means to watch it, because for some reason Eurosport lost the licence, so I have to stick to highlights and things like that. But, I looked at it in looking at the origins of the car. So the Gibson-powered Alpine A480 will go up against a new breed of hypercar contenders run by Toyota Glickenhaus in the 6th-round WEC season, which will get underway at Spa-Francorchamps in May. Now, this is the funny thing. This car is an Oreca 07 chassis, powered by the Gibson engine in the Oreca 07, that's built by Rebellion, and was used as their LMP1 last season. So it's an LMP2 that was used as an LMP1 that's now been basically given the colossal BOP and brought down to hypercar standards. Because, of course, the hypercar, the unfortunate thing about it being cheaper is that it was a prototype. It was it's slower than LMP1, much slower. They reckon it's going to be doing 330s at Le Mans.
It is going to be the show. It is going to be the ICANN. So LMP1 might be the fastest, but when you by joining hypercar, you're putting much more of a statement. I think if you're joining more of a statement than joining LMP1, to be honest, because it's the future.
And I mean, you can't join LMP1 anymore because they axed it for hypercar.
They've axed it for hypercar, exactly.
Yeah, so and when I first saw this, I was like, that's an LMP1, and I quite like that because I think the look of LMP1s is brilliant. So the fact that we've got LMP1s, basically LMP1s, legal in hypercar class, albeit with a colossal kind of balance of performance, I think it's great. I think it's brilliant. We've got that we've got that LMP aesthetic, and it's going to slowly evolve. And I think it's great. It's basically just a cheaper, nicer LMP1.
It does look nice, to be fair.
It looks
for a
nice.
prototype, at least. It looks very nice. Of course, the Alpine colours as well. Alpine is very good with the liveries.
Now,
how well is the car actually going to do, though? That's the big question.
This is the interesting thing. Now, they've got BOP in the hypercar class, which I think is an interesting idea for prototypes. I think, you know, it's very interesting. I don't know whether I like BOP for hypercars in any way. It's, you know, they're prototypes. Do they really need BOP? I believe LMP2 has got equivalence of technology, which is basically BOP. But,
yes.
I could be wrong. I remember them mentioning it at Le Mans, but I'm not sure. You know, I haven't found any sources for it. But, you know, it's an interesting idea, and I don't think they'll be able to challenge Toyota. But I think they'll definitely be able to pick up a couple of wins through the season. I mean, it isn't a massive hypercar field. If I quickly get up the entry list for
it's not huge. No. This is why they switched to hypercars in the first place. Because, okay, yeah, it's the future, but also because LMP1 was completely dead.
I mean,
the Toyota was the only hybrid car.
I mean, we've got 5 hypercars this year. I'm trying to find the entry list.
But I think, yeah, because Peugeot are coming back.
Yes, that's 2023.
Audi said they might be coming back.
I think
Aston Martin might go back.
And I think the fact that Aston Martin went for Formula 1 over WEC is absolute blasphemy, to be honest.
I mean, okay, we can briefly say, I think Lawrence Stroll, if Aston Martin are successful in Formula 1 for their aspirations, I think they will be, because they have a huge amount of resources now. They will come to the WEC hypercars for sure.
I hope so, because the Valkyrie seems like such an interesting project, and I think to completely just remove that is it would be quite silly. Anyway, I found the whole calendar. So they go to Spa-Francorchamps for the 6 hours of Spa up first. Then it's 8 hours of Portimao, 6 hours of Monza, 24 hours of Le Mans, 6 hours of Fuji, and 8 hours of Bahrain. So it's not the most impressive calendar I have ever seen. And I'm trying to find you the entry list. I will bear with me on that one.
Take your time, don't worry.
They they have a massive graphic showing all the entry lists, and they don't actually tell you who's on it. Here we go. Hypercars. So there's 5 hypercars. Toyota Gazoo Racing number 7, Toyota Gazoo Racing number 8, Alpine Elf Matmut 36, Glickenhaus and Glickenhaus 708, 709. Now, I think this is interesting because we've got 4 LMGTE Pro as well. Now, I'm wondering, are any of the LMGTE Pro teams? I mean, we've already seen AF Corsa, which is basically Ferrari. We've seen Ferrari.
Just call it Ferrari.
We'll just call it Ferrari. It's. I mean, I don't know why they don't just use Ferrari.
I don't know. I really don't know.
It's Ferrari. It's got the Ferrari branding. It's got the Ferrari Driver Academy stickers on it. And they just call it AF Corsa.
Car, engine, everything about it is a Ferrari except name.
Exactly. Anyway, I got the 51 and 52. And I reckon we're going to see a lot of these teams. Because, I mean, we've got Ferrari and Porsche, basically the only 2 LMGTE Pro teams. I reckon they'll be going over to Hypercar eventually, and I think that's going to really see the death of GTE, which is unfortunate. They are brilliant cars. But the Alpine, I can't see it challenging. I think really Toyota have got this in the bag already. You know, they've. I mean, it's Toyota. They've got the budget. They've got the drivers. They've got everything. Whereas Alpine are going to be, you know, that I reckon they're going to be really stuck to fighting with Glickenhaus.
Near the bottom, to be honest. Yeah, if not at the bottom. This is really... Alpine has now jumped from LMP2 to LMH and Formula 1. It has a chance to do well in both. It's unlikely they'll do well in both. But this is definitely... It's a new beginning for Alpine. They're now a serious international... They're not powerhouse, but this is stamping a bit of authority on. This is putting a program in for the future. This year and maybe the next few are just experimentation.
Exactly. I mean,
they can afford hiccups.
Could I see them springing a surprise at Le Mans? Or, I could. I really could. I mean, Le Mans, anything can happen. It's not really about who has the best car. It's who gets the most lucky and has the best car. I mean, obviously the safe bet would be Toyota, but I mean, Toyota could have a nightmare. I mean, this is hypercar. It's meant to be closer. So if the BOP is effective and we do have cars that are basically the same performance, then obviously Alpine or Glickenhaus could spring a surprise at Le Mans. But I think really it's going to be Toyota all the way all season. There'll be close battles, obviously, but I think it's more going to be people banking on Toyota's poor luck than anything else.
Yeah, definitely.
And to give you a quick update on Formula E, Freddie Rasmussen got to pole position, followed by Javelowski, and then Buljak, no idea, there. And for some reason the stream is now playing F1 2020. I have no idea why, but anyway.
We move.
I believe that is our WEC section over. Yeah, it's only meant to be 10 minutes, and we've been exactly 10 minutes, so...
It's big time now.
Well, now for the Mickey Mouse Motorsport. I'm joking. Now for Formula 1.
You're cancelled.
Testing and Drive to Survive. Now, I will admit, I really enjoyed F1 testing. I was a little bit annoyed. I loved the broadcast coverage. The coverage of testing over the last 2 years have been absolutely brilliant.
Thanks, Karun.
I absolutely loved it. They've got basically practice for 8 hours, and it's excellent. And I was so annoyed that we went back to school 2 days before testing started, because that was going to be my lockdown watch. And I was so excited, but we ended up watching about 6 hours, I think, overall of testing over the 3 days.
I didn't watch a single hour.
Really?
I'm going to be honest. I followed it, but I didn't. But I know everything that happened.
Yes. Now, I think probably the biggest talking point is...
Is it Red Bull's year?
Is it? Well, yeah, is it Red Bull's year?
That's the question.
I think it's not so much is it Red Bull's year or is it Mercedes' off year?
Is it Mercedes bogey? Is it finally a stinker for Mercedes? Honestly, I think there is definitely some sandbag. Because remember 2019.
Yes.
Ferrari were straight out of the gate, fastest every day. We get to Australia, they're 1 second off pole. Mercedes just unleashed the beast.
And to be honest,
and they had that Mercedes, in fairness, in 2019 was a very stable car. This year, it doesn't look that stable. They've tweaked something looking for performance. Because last year it was a Red Bull. The Red Bull at the rear was extremely slidey. Verstappen crashed on a formation lap. Not even a formation lap. An out lap to the grid. He crashed on it.
Yes.
In intermediate conditions, either because it was wet, fine, but the car also definitely contributed. This year, that Red Bull looks so grounded. I mean, look at it go through turn 4. That car is just pointed absolutely perfectly all throughout the corner. Verstappen is so eager on the throttle on it, and it behaves perfectly. The Mercedes is the Red Bull of last year, and it does not look like a nice car to drive.
But then again, I always think if there's any driver on this grid that could have a spin on purpose and make it look like a mistake and make it look like they actually have problems, it's going to be Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes.
Yeah. We've been asking for Lewis and Max for quite a few seasons now. We might finally have it. Because Max also has a proven teammate now. Because when Gasly was in the car, he wasn't proven. Albon had 1 season, and he flopped. He had 1 season prior, and he flopped in his Red Bull campaign. Perez has been in Formula 1 since 2011. He's just won his first race. This is the high point of his career. He's at his peak, and he's now a Red Bull. Verstappen finally has, since Ricciardo left, someone who can actually help him. Someone who can force Mercedes into doing strategies they don't want.
But I wonder, is it actually that Red... And I think that we're going to really see this year. Is it the Red Bull that was the problem with Alex and Gasly? Or is it the drivers? And I hope it is the drivers.
Well, Red Bull's quite similar to Ferrari. They really value for they put all of their, not all of it, most of their resources, what the fastest in, and the other driver perishes.
We apologise for the slight audio lag. I believe it's on my end. So don't you worry, James. We're trying to switch to TeamSpeak next week, so we'll hopefully have better audio and all that. But anyway, I think the interesting thing this year with F1 is going to be, it could be one of the best years in F1. We've got Imola on the calendar. Is it Portimao we got back, or Portimao?
Portimao is back, and hopefully the DRS sun isn't as long this time, because it was completely overpowered last time.
Now,
that race was really good.
I will admit, I didn't watch
underrated.
it. We had a couple of the races, I think it was Sochi and Portimao and Abu Dhabi, where I was karting at the same time as the race, so I didn't get to watch them.
Well, you're lucky. You missed the two worst races. Nice.
I think I missed Portimao actually as well.
Portimao. Yeah, No, I'm talking about Sochi and Abu Dhabi, obviously. But Portimao was good. Portimao was really good. There was surprisingly a lot of racing outside of the first corner. Obviously, Lewis broke the record, which is momentous. And I mean, I don't care how much I dislike him at times. It's amazing. I never thought 91 wins would get broken. If there was one record that can never be broken, it was 91 wins, and it's gone.
And I don't know if I want to see Hamilton beat the record. I want to see Hamilton beat the record, but I also want to see Max Verstappen get a title.
Honestly, I think Verstappen will break all of Hamilton's records, not Leclerc. I think it will be Verstappen, because this guy, he's just turned 23 years old. This is his now seventh season in Formula One. 7th. He has a ton of podiums. He's in double figures for wins, I believe. If he gets to a championship-winning car, which he's due, he's long overdue, he will start to deliver.
And the last 2 years or so, like 2019 and 2020, Verstappen has looked the business. He's finally, all those little niggles he had, he's looked like he's actually ready to, he's in his prime, almost.
He's not in his prime. He's not in his prime, nowhere near. That's the scary thing. He's nowhere near his prime.
Some would say.
It looks like it, but he's just getting better every season.
Anyway.
This season will be better than last season.
Yes.
He already looks better in his testing.
Looking towards the back of the grid.
Yeah,
I would like to see how the Haas internal battle happens this year. Now, I know everyone...
Haas are frustrating.
I know everyone on F1 Twitter will want you to think that Nikita Mazepin will flop this year. And everything the guy does gets him trending on Twitter. I'm not going to say anything, but I find that quite funny.
He's not a bad driver. He's extremely aggressive. He's basically how Verstappen was. Very, very dangerous to drive with sometimes, but he's not inherently slow. He's a bit like he's like Latifi and Stroll.
Yes.
He just has a dad who has tons of money and can buy his way into Formula One. Will he beat Mick Schumacher? No. I think most people will agree with that.
I think
Will he be a total flop? I think also no.
I think he's got so much pressure on. He could win the championship this year, and he could still be hated by everyone.
Hated? Yeah, absolutely.
I'm looking through Twitter, and I mean, first comment you see is normalise blaming Mazepin for every minor inconvenience on track. Now, I'm going to completely ignore what the guy did. That's in the past. Haas have made their decision. I think it's time to move on from that and talk about his actual on track, because
I just worry for Haas, to be honest. I just worry for them. Williams are going to beat them this year. There will be bottom. I don't know. 2018 was a high point, and they basically did what Racing Point did 2 years ahead. That car was a carbon copy of the Ferrari of last year.
Yes, and that is the one car you don't want to copy.
'Cause it was a repainted. 2018 was a high point, and they basically did what Racing Point did 2 years ahead. That car was a carbon copy of the Ferrari of last year. Yes, and that is the one car you don't want to copy. Well, nowadays, yes. But the 2017 Ferrari was not faster than the Mercedes. Vettel was on another level in 2017.
I think 2018.
I think Vettel peaked in 2017.
I think 2018 and 2019, Ferrari arguably had the better car than Mercedes. 2019, I'd say you'd think it isn't the case, but I mean, you look at the results in the kind of middle of the season, Spa, Monza. They had the better package once they got that car going.
That's because they had an illegal engine. Thing.
Okay, well, officially, according to the FIA, they had the better
FIA.
package.
We should talk about this in another podcast because
the
FIA and the Ferrari both depend on each other. To be honest. Formula One without Ferrari is not really the same.
Well, yes,
and
I mean
Ferrari. What else does it compete in? WEC.
Except it doesn't officially compete in WEC.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. Ferrari doesn't really drive in anything in a massive racing series other than Formula One.
Yeah.
And exactly. They need each other. And the FIA, I mean, everybody knows that Ferrari cheated.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Ferrari had an illegal engine that year.
Ferrari 100% had an extremely illegal engine. But, yeah. So, Haas copied the Ferrari in 2018. The next year started well. And then it slowly tailed off because they had this problem with the car. I can't remember what it was, but it was like the penultimate race of the season, and they were still using the Australia spec car. They actually didn't know which car was faster, the one with new updates or the Australia car. They didn't know. One track the Australia car would be faster, the next one it wouldn't be. It was a paradox. It was so strange, and 2020 was no better. 2020 was worse. Kevin Magnussen he got points in Hungary purely. Well, he did a brilliant race, but that car was so slow that race.
I mean,
it's Haas is getting worse every year. This year they'll finish bottom, even with Schumacher and Mazepin.
Yes, and I think the days are definitely numbered for Haas. I think their thoughts are with NASCAR. I think Gene Haas thought this was going to be like NASCAR and didn't realise this is a completely different.
Gene Haas wants out. He's been wanting out for a while now.
I think he's realised that F1 isn't the kind of thing you can go in kind of not really pay attention to it, but kind of just, throw a bit of money at it and it'll be all right. It's not like NASCAR. It's not like that. You can't spring a surprise win. But anyway, Jeddah. Now they released a video.
Before we talk about Jeddah, just one more team I want to say keep an eye on this year: AlphaTauri.
For sure.
Sonoda was second fastest in testing. Sonoda, not Gasly, Sonoda. And we know how fast Gasly is. That car is much faster than last year's. I know it's only testing, so we can't get too hyped about it, but that car is going to be top. I think they can get fifth in the constructors, to be honest.
Three final quick fire things, because we've been going for almost an hour. We've been going for, if I check my OBS, let me check.
We've been going for
57 minutes. 58 minutes.
58. Well.
So, three quick fire things before we go. Jeddah Street Circuit. They released a video in RSS, from RSS, and I have to feel for RSS. They have the official F1 channel using their car. They have all of the teams using their car, and yet they still don't have the license or the ability to call it an F1 car.
Yes.
The poor guys. But anyway, Jeddah, I think it's going to look cool in real life, but I don't really care for it too much. I think it looks a bit...
Obviously, there's a human rights argument and everything, but let's just talk about the track. It is literally if you gave a 6-year-old a crayon. It is comically similar to Punta del Este Formula E track.
Yes, I mean, it gives me massive Singapore. It's like Singapore mixed with Formula E, and I think that it sets a scary...
Singapore's a good track. I'm sorry, a lot of people disagree. I think Singapore's a good track. That 2019 race was outrageous.
I think Jeddah, the proposed Miami circuit, and Vietnam, they're setting a dangerous precedent for F1 where we're going for locations and politics rather than tracks.
And publicity. It's publicity.
Exactly.
Miami, massive city. Jeddah, they're building the world's tallest tower next to it.
Yes.
Abu Dhabi, that entire island it's built on is man. There's a massive water park 2 miles away. Exactly. There's the biggest theme park 2 minutes away.
I think the days of iconic corners and good tracks are gone.
It's done. Formula One is just money at this point. Herman Tilke he's a fantastic architect, just not for racing. Some of the paddocks he makes look astounding.
And some of the tracks he did in the early days were great, but now they're...
Yeah, exactly. But exactly. That's what you can pinpoint exactly when the what Formula One wanted changed. They went from wanting actual racing to money, and unfortunately, the tracks with money are the ones that stay on the calendar.
And we're now as well going for, they're not building hospitality around tracks. They're now building tracks around hospitality. And that's a massive
this
issue.
Jeddah track, it can look nice and all. I cannot see a single corner you can overtake it.
No, and I think this is the problem. We're never, ever going to get another Eau Rouge. Another Maggots and Beckett's. And this is the thing about these old tracks that are brilliant. They are brilliant because it's... because they've just naturally happened. Spa, Monza, Silverstone, iconic locations by chance.
To be honest, I tell you one... Everyone talks about Eau Rouge. Imagine if we had a modern-day Master. That corner, like the same speeds, because obviously in the modern-day Master is completely flat. But back in the day, if you went flat through Master, there was a chance you were dead. We need another corner like that. Not being dead, but off the track. Because back then, of course, there was no barriers.
Don't get us cancelled on episode 1, James.
Into a ditch, or you...
We said quick.
Yeah.
We said
you either went into a ditch or you crashed into a house.
Yes.
Yeah.
We went for quick fire rounds. So, second quick fire thing. IndyCar. No, we'll go to that afterwards. IMSA, Sebring, this weekend. About 3 months after the last Sebring race, but this weekend, Sebring 12 hours. Thoughts?
I'm not going to watch it, to be honest. I don't follow IMSA too much. If I'm honest, I love Sebring. I love IMSA. No, I'm too busy this weekend.
I love IMSA because it's the closest you're going to get to WEC without shelling out money to motorsport.com.
Without being WEC, yes.
And I mean, the thing about WEC as well is it's not on Eurosport anymore, so I kind of have to. You get about half the race on Eurosport, and then you have to follow it on the app. So I like IMSA because I can watch it and I can just actually watch sports cars for free at my computer. It's excellent. Their Daytona coverage is brilliant. The guys at IMSA Rage are brilliant. And I'm quite excited for the race. I think, it's just great to see DPI cars and LMP2s and all of those cars. And I think they've got LMP3 this year, haven't they?
I think so, yeah.
They did at Daytona anyway.
Because they're doing this. They're doing the merger, right?
Yes, they did LMP3, and it's been a bit of a bad. I'm going to run out of topics in the first episode. Well, the idea is it's news, and we've got a lot of news to catch up on because, I mean, we haven't done a show since Formula 1 started, so... Anyway, IndyCar iRacing Challenge. It's tonight, and I am going to watch it. I didn't know it's tonight. It's in 2 hours and a half, and I love the IndyCar iRacing Challenge. It was brilliant last lockdown.
I think if there wasn't all that controversy with Pagenaud and Norris... IndyCar, because it was well set up as well. It was NASCAR. It was quite as good as NASCAR. I watch IndyCar in real life.
Same.
I'm quite biased. I watch IndyCar in real life, but I don't watch NASCAR.
And it's at Montreal as well. Wow.
That just destroyed the rep. Everything, all the hard work that organised just went straight out.
It's the broadcast that impresses me. No one in the industry does esports broadcasts better than iRacing. Their broadcasts are excellent. I will regularly stay up till 2 a.m. just to watch the eNASCAR because it's just excellent. I'll catch up on it, and it is a brilliant form of racing to watch. It's the closest you will ever get to watching a real life racing broadcast, and it's brilliant.
Yes, it is brilliant. I agree. I'm still probably not going to watch it, but yes, it is. It deserves a mention. It deserves a shout.
So I think IndyCar as a whole is going to be interesting this year. But anyway, that is a topic for another time. We'll be back same time next week, I think. James?
Depends on how ready I am for my exam the next day. We'll see.
If James isn't here next week, I think I'll probably hold an episode anyway as an interview or something. I think that's probably something we'll do.
We could even push it forward a couple of days.
Yeah, I'll keep you updated on my Instagram at Tom Dillon Racing. How to get the plug in? We need money to.
It's the first episode, man. Come on, keep it chill.
No. Yes. You can follow me on Instagram. I'll give updates there. Don't follow me on Twitter.
Oh, there it is again.
Well, I mean, that's probably the best way I can give updates. Or, you know us on Discord, probably. I think everyone who's watching this stream has on Discord, so we'll just keep you updated, I guess, in the Ascensa and Reading Game Discords.
Yes.
Anyway, also keep up to date on SoundCloud. I'll be uploading this podcast to SoundCloud practically the second it finishes uploading to YouTube. Other than that, if you do want an interview next week, actually, if James isn't there, then I will happily, you can DM me on Discord and we'll talk about it. Because I think that would be quite fun, to be honest. But other than that, I'm quite happy to end it here. 1 hour and 5 minutes. I think it's been a rather successful show.
Yes, I agree. Don't worry about time. Time for talking is time well spent.
Yes, but my dinner's been here since the start of the show, so I'm going to have to go and eat a cold chili.
Nice.
It's been
That's why you eat early, Tom. That's why you eat before the podcast.
Well, yes, there is that, but I prefer eating late, because if I eat at about, 6 o'clock, then I end up being hungry by about 10, so, no point going to, no point going hungry to bed. Anyway, with that being said, thank you all very much. This has been a very successful show. We got up to 6 viewers at one point, which for a brand new podcast is actually very impressive, so thank you
Someone's humble.
Well, for this channel's numbers, that is quite impressive. But yes, we would like to thank you all very much for watching.